to see everybody join. Okay. Baruch Hashem. So I see we have quite a few from Eretz Israel with all the news. Wow. So welcome everybody, and would like to set the intentions of these workshops to be, as the Rebbe said in that Avodas Hamoichin Sicha, is that through our Avodas Hamoichin we are actually not only securing the borders of Eretz Israel, but actually expanding them into the lands of Keni, Knizi, and Kadmoni, which is the Ammon, Moab, and Edom. If we look in the maps, these are Eretz Israel is Bezrat Hashem very soon going to be expanded tenfold into these lands, and the most important that it will be B'darkei Shalom, the Rebbe says, right, in a peaceful manner. And this is our little attempt to bring that into our reality.
Sorry, Mila, being that it's Yom HaZikaron here in Israel, I'd like to dedicate our learning to the soldiers who throughout the years have given their lives to protect Eretz Israel, and in doing so they really protect Jews all around the world. You know, as we're seeing today, whatever happens in Israel, there's an impact for Jews everywhere.
Yeah, amen.
So this is the class number 9. I felt that the last class was a little bit difficult for people. I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe it was a little bit dry, or maybe it was just that we were coming back after a month of being away. But I was thinking that perhaps now that we're looking at Bina, the Omek of Bina, the Rochav, the Orech, and today we're going to go into the Mashal of Bina as a river, which I think it's a very interesting mashal and really opens up what we were learning last week. But I also felt like perhaps we need to just reconnect with the concept of Chochmah before we go into Bina, because Chochmah and Bina are called two friends who never part. They're always working together. So if we're not really aware of, we're not remembering what Chochmah was all about, it's going to be difficult for Bina to feel that significant. And also when we get to the Mashal, Chochmah was the spring, and now Bina is going to be the river. So it's obviously an extension one to the other. So what I wanted to do was just take you on not to go detail by detail, but just to take you through a quick kind of meditation, just to reconnect to the ideas that we explored in Chochmah. So I invite you, to close your eyes if you like, just so that you can envision it. And so, okay. So we know that Chochmah is in the right side of the brain. And we know that Chochmah is mashpia, gives to Bina, but Chochmah receives from somewhere. Chochmah receives from that which is above it. So Chochmah becomes a makabel relative to that which is above it. So where do the ideas that we get in our Chochmah brain, when we say, we have that aha moment where there's an idea that just flashes into our mind, like it says, like a barak, like lightning. We go, wow, where did that come from? So where does it come from? So above the Chochmah brain is what is known as maskil, or koach hamaskil, which means really the power of intellect. And this koach hamaskil dwells in the spiritual lachluchit, the spiritual moisture that is in the moach satum, the hidden brain, which is above the membranes that surround the three brains of Chochmah, Bina, and Dat. So we have the three brains of Chochmah, Bina, and Dat that we have access to. And there's a membrane that surrounds that. But above that is what's called a hidden mind. We have a hidden brain. And this is where the ideas come from. The Koach HaMaskil is a Yuli, which means that it has infinite potential to conceptualize ideas. It's endless. Now, in the right brain, we said that we get this flash of inspiration. How do you bring the ideas from this moach stima, from the hidden brain, into the revealed Chochmah brain, into the beginning of consciousness? How do we do that? So there are two ways in which this happens. They happen simultaneously. There needs to be a tzimtzum in the koach hamaskil, meaning there needs to be a contraction of this enormous light and this enormous potential so that there will be one idea that comes down. But how does this one idea manifest? It's from the effort that the person puts in. Basically, it means that there's a symptom also in the physical right side of the brain, the Chochmah brain. When we put in effort and we focus on one idea, it awakens the Koach HaMaskil to bring down this one idea. And then it flashes into our brain. And this only happens, the toil that we put in, the yagir that we put in, is connected to the idea of bitul and shimamon, like putting ourselves, emptying ourselves out from our ego and our coarseness. This awakens the koach hamaskil to bring down an idea. So now the idea flashes into the right side of our brain, and slowly we bring it down, and we bring it down to Bina. Okay, so now we have an idea of where do the ideas come from, how it flashes into the right side of the brain, and the mashal for this was the spring. And just like in Chochmah and Koach HaMaskil, there's the revealed Chochmah in the right brain, and there's the hidden brain, which is Koach HaMaskil. So in the Mashal, which is the spring, there's the revealed spring, which is the water that breaks through the earth, and you see it like as a spring of water. And that's the revealed spring. And then there's the hidden spring, which is like the Koach HaMaskil, which is like giddim of water, like veins of water through the earth that are connected to a huge source called the Tahom, an aquifer. So an aquifer is a large kind of underground lake. And then there are veins, almost like channels, that bring it up to the surface, and then it becomes a spring. So that's the hidden brain, which is the Koach HaMaskil. And the spring, as it reveals itself, kind of like the barak, like the lightning, into our brain, that's the revealed spring. So now we have Chochmah as the spring, which is connected to an endless source of water. And we want to see how that then becomes Bina. Okay, we have a question. How does this hidden brain relate or connect to the neshama? Okay. Right now, I'm not sure that we want to answer that question, because really that's something that we will see as we progress. As I keep saying, we're learning the building blocks now of this process. And then when he puts it all together, you'll see how it connects into the larger picture of the neshama. So have patience, and right, at some point, everything's going to come together, and, there's the aha moment. So, okay. Did that make it a little bit clearer? Did it remind you a little bit of the chokhmah that we looked at, or just connecting back to that process? Okay. We got one thumbs up, so we'll take it as, okay. All right, so then, last week we spoke a little bit about Bina. We spoke about the Orech of Bina, which is how Bina connects to Chokhmah. And we were also talking about this idea of the experience when when you only hear the letters of the explanation. So now we're in Bina. And I wanted to try and give you like a feeling of what that might mean in your own life. So I was thinking perhaps, if some of you, you take your profession, if you're an artist, or if you're a therapist, or if you, whatever it is that you know a lot about. So when you're telling somebody about that, you'll be very animated, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to put in words an entire experience, something you know so much about. I mean, imagine if you're an artist and you're trying to explain to somebody what it feels like to do a painting, or to take an idea and then put it down onto paper. Or if you're a therapist, what it feels like to sit with a client and to work out where is the point that needs to be healed. So if you're trying to talk about that to somebody, you'll be very animated. There'll be a lot of chayut in what you're saying, because you're connected to the essence of what it is. You know it very well. And so you're connected in a sense to the chokhmah of it. And so the way that you describe it will be very animated, and maybe you'll be able to communicate it and maybe not, but there'll be a lot of animation in what you do, what you're saying. Now, compare that to when you go to a shiur. Say you listen to a shiur by Yosef Yitzhak Jacobson, and you just feel like this is an amazing shiur. Wow. Now you listen to it once, and now you want to go and share it with a friend or tell it to your husband. And suddenly you feel like, you were very excited by what he said, but it's hard to give it over to somebody. And well, this is my experience. I begin to feel like all I'm doing is giving over the words, but not exactly the concepts. And it's hard to get the other person excited about it the way that I'm excited about it. So in a sense, what I've only, although when I was listening to it, I heard him being connected to the essence of it. I am not yet connected to the essence of it, and I'm kind of giving over just the words of it, just like almost like the letters. Can you relate to that? Can you look at those two experiences? And okay, so I just wanted to bring that alive a little bit. And now I'm going to hand over to Mila, and we'll go back over the Oymik of Bina. Amila will just summarize it, and then we'll go into the text in more detail about the river of Bina. Mila, you are.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, for a moment I had this fear. Oh my gosh, never again, right? Yeah, last class I felt enormous pain of being silenced. Yeah, I pressed. I don't know. My daughter was next to me. She pressed something, and I couldn't remove the red thingy to open up my mic, and it was an interesting experience. But today, Baruch Hashem, my mic is working, and we're gonna delve a little bit, go over a little bit, because last class we didn't really have much understanding, and perhaps that was Hashgacha Pratis, because we pretty much felt what the absence of Omek of Bina feels like. There's a bunch of words, and we're missing the point. That's exactly what happened last class. It was like nice, beautiful explanations. And I guess Hashem created the situation for us not only to conceptualize about absence of Omek of Bina, but actually experience it, right? We were like, we came, we heard, and then we were like, what was that about, right? If anybody would to ask what we actually learned last last class, we were like, not sure what was it, but it was interesting. That's exactly what Omek of Bina is. So let me share my screen. I did a little diagram, and with my mind map right here. Okay, so we're not going to go through the whole entire mind map, because we already did it last time, and you have access to this mind map. You could visit it, you could make any suggestions. So we're going to go over here where we left off last class. And actually, someone suggested that this mind map should have classes here, the paragraphs, reference for paragraphs. So, I'll be working on that as well, since we did only 9 paragraphs. It's not. Excuse me. So, Omek of Bina, right? It's let me just fix that. So it's Omek of Bina, right? And we know that Omek of Bina, it's actually Keser of Bina, and it's also Tamtzit Hadavar. So what is Tamtzit Hadavar? So I found this beautiful samovar, a picture, and just to give us an idea, inside this little petal, yeah, it's a tea essence. It was quite traditional in Europe to drink from these things, right? And these things was actually attached on the fire, and there was plain water in this compartment right here. So I'm just gonna do annotate, so you'll see where I'm holding. Yeah, okay. Oh no. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're talking about this compartment. This compartment was filled with pure water. And what people would do, they would put a little bit from here and a lot from here. And that's how they would drink, right? So the tea essence, this is the mashal that's given for the Omek of Bina. Omek of Bina is that when the whole entire concept comes to a point. And this is the concentrate. And also Rabbi Hillel gave us a dugma. This is, all the dugmas are right here. The dugma of a person number 1, that he has koach hatfisa, if you remember that, right? Whatever that means, meaning the power to catch, but only gets the letters of the explanation. Therefore, he's missing chayus in this concept. The second person has moach tfisa, right? Has the brain of tfisa, whatever that means. Gets the message behind the letters, therefore he has great chayus from it, because he feels the nekuda of chachma. Now, a person might say, like, 1 second. We are talking about of Omek of Bina. What this has to do with Chachma? My kesher, right? What's the connection? Well, it's a big connection, because remember, let's go to the original Mashalim for Omek. We mentioned that Omek doesn't have, it's not an entity in itself, it's the ayin. Meaning, once you reach the point, the concentration, the tamtzit of the concept, where are you? You are in Chachma already. That's it. So the Omek of Bina is non-existent place. It's the connecting point. Yeah. So once you trespass the limitations of Bina, you are in Chachma. That's it. And there's a big difference between how Chachma sees the world and how Bina sees the world. Right? So Bina is Yesh. And he mentions in the text that Omek of Bina is the ayin of the Yesh of Bina. Meaning you're already in a Chachma, basically. Okay, you open the door and you literally enter into the room of Chachma, if you want to see it in that world. Now, so what is Orech of Bina? And also, I'm sorry, this is, what's Rochav of Bina? Rochav, again, it's the width. It's the actual Bina, whatever that means. Meaning, it's also the Chachma of Bina. It's the Bina, whatever that explanation of whatever she's trying to explain to us. Now, Orech of Bina, it's something different. Orech of Bina is the power to bring down this concept to others, right? With explanation and mashalim. For example, the Rochav of Bina is how I understand myself, the concept for myself. Meaning, whenever we are learning a maayan or anything like that, the way we understand it with our own understanding. Now, a Rochav of Orech of Bina is I'm here now to need to explain it to somebody else. And how many times we went out of a class or after reading a book and we're trying to explain it to another person and we're like, right? Like we don't have the words to explain it. Why is it? Because we felt it and we actually know what we're talking about. But the ability to bring down, and I'm going to bring you back to this place. Okay, if you remember this diagram, when we were discussing the relationship that Orech depends on Omek, the same story is with Bina. The Orech of Bina depends on the Omek of Bina. You are able to explain it and give more mashalim and explanations only if you were able to receive it. If you yourself have that clarity, because it's not how many words you're going to use, it's how you understand the concept yourself and your ability to understand who you're giving it to, and ability of what words you're going to choose and how you're going to bring out the concept, what's going to be the order of you explaining the concept. Right? This is what matters, because you know there are people who could just repeat verbatim, word for word, what they heard, but they didn't get it. They're just repeating the words. Okay, and this is really very, very felt. So let's I'm gonna stop talking and we're gonna start reading from the text, and we will see where in text we're talking about. So we're not gonna go over the Omek because we did that last time. One thing that we need to really concentrate, the indications for Omek of Bina is the fact that he has Lachein Yeshlo Sayud Gadol Ba'oisies. Therefore, he has a great vitality, a great chayus in these letters. Okay? Elo. V'zeh ha'omek of Bina. And this is the Omek of Bina. V'nikra Keser de Bina. Okay? So now, what is Rochav? Rochav de Bina, he, Hasbara, is the explanations, Atzma, Niglis, Bebchinas Yesh. The actual explanations. And again, he is so short about it because right then and there he concludes about the Rochav. Rochav, it's not much to explain. It's the Bina, the explanations. And this is the aspect of the Chachma of the Bina. And what is Orech? Ba'orech the Bina hu mashe b'koichoi lahoirid sechel hamut'am b'zvara. All right, so this is the power, his power, to bring down this intellect, hamut'am. It's interesting, he uses the word hamut'am. It's tasted, right? The tasted explanation, this tasted explanations, b'levushim, in the garments already, in the levushim. What type of levushim he's enclothing it to, okay? Okay, the hesbedim shainim, different explanations, umashalim shainim, and different mashalim. Why is it? Ad sheyachol lehislabesh afilu b'sechel hatinok, until he's able to enclose it even in the brain of a little child. And this is the aspect of Bina, right? Meaning he's able to explain and give mashalim and mashalim of mashalim, right? And who we can really relate to. Who can you really relate to in the whole Jewish history was Shlomo HaMelech. He was able to give, for one concept, 3,000 mashalim. So that shows the power of his own understanding in things and his own perception, because he was able to give so many mashalim. So that's how we can actually measure our own understanding. How can I explain it to others? Okay, and for this also the Rebbe sent us out. And we need to go and study with people who are completely not affiliated with whatever, Yiddishkeit is. And that causes a tremendous amount of avoda on the person who is actually presenting these concepts, because it's not about just putting on tefillin, although it is also just putting on tefillin. We're trying to explain to people the messages behind Torah mitzvahs, to people who exceptionally worldly. They have no idea what you're talking about. So this is exactly what the ability to explain to people and to little children whose mind is not developed, and even to adults whose mind developed only in the worldly matters. This is the ability of our what? Orech of Bina. Okay, now what Orech of Bina depends on? Why somebody could explain in such a beautiful way and the other person just like, oh, just put on tefillin, you'll find out when you'll come to yeshiva. Okay, what does it depend on? It's a question. Okay, so I see there are some activities going on. Okay. I see Nechama asked the question. In reviewing, I was pondering, what is the difference between Omek of Bina and Chachma? Right. The Omek of Bina, Omek of Chachma, is to bring a new concept into this world. The Omek of Bina is to bring a new explanation into this concept. This is, in short, what's the difference? Can mind map be printed? Absolutely. Oh, I wasn't able to. I think you need to save it as PDF. You could download it. It's downloadable, and then you could print it. Okay. It is Orech de Bina is Bina Sheba Bina. Correct. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's oh, there you answered. Okay. Is the same Bina as in Bina Yisera Nisnalisha? Exactly. That's actually in last week's Parsha, in Parshas Kedoshim, we see something very interesting. Rashi, when it says that a person should fear his mother. No, when it says, Rashi explains that when it talks about the fear, it puts the mother before the father, and when it talks about the respect, He puts father before the mother. And Rashi explains because a child naturally fears the father more than the mother. Therefore, the mother goes ahead. But a child naturally respects his mother more than his father. Why? Because she explains him things. That's the Rashi says, right? She spends more time explaining him things. So therefore, he's like, oh, okay. So he gives her respect as opposed to father cut short. Okay, this is what you got to do. And no explanations, obedience, right? So the mother's like, no, 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 you have to do it. You're going to grow up like this. You're going to grow up like this, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, when it comes to respect, a child, has more feelings towards his mother, and therefore he naturally, will respect or give her respect. Again, we're not talking about respect as in terms of yira. We're talking about like, doing things for her and take care of her, as opposed to other things. Okay, so let's jump into the mashal. Any questions up until this point? Oh, okay. You said once that you are in Omek of Bina, you opened the door to Chachma. Kind of answered my question. Okay, great. Can you explain Chachmas Nashim Bansa Besa? Yeah, that's his Bina Yiseira and Chachmas Nashim. It's I think we could understand that, right? Women kind of get things a little bit easier, like we could kind of get where the conversation is going, and we could kind of gently deviate it into another conversation, right? As opposed to like trying to push out things. So Chachmas Nashim, it's I think once you go over, I will strongly suggest you to go over the Mishlei about Eshes Chayil. These are all the feminine feminine qualities that we could tap into, which Bathsheba, the grand-grandmother of Shlomo Melech, and he wrote about her. She was an exceptionally and extraordinary woman. Bathsheba, she was David's Hamelech's wife, right? But she had an exceptional wisdom, and whatever he wrote, he was actually referring to her. But Bathsheba was his mother. Sorry, not his grandmother. Bathsheba was the mother of Shlomo Melech, and she actually was the one that through who, if you look in Malachim, he became a king because of the other son of David HaMelech, who when David HaMelech was already sick, he kind of wanted to do the revolt, and he had great amount of people, a great amount of followers, and I believe Shmuel Hanavi, he came to Bathsheba and he asked her to, put the acts together and go and get assurance from David HaMelech that Shlomo HaMelech is going to be the next king. And that's what he followed through with her request. And he also taught her how she should ask him. So she'll get the answer yes. So this is Chochmat Nashim. If you want to find out, it's not just walking over, oh, David, you dying. Is my son Shlomo going to be the next king? If you read in Malachim, there was a whole trick how she asked him. And not trick, but it was a smart way how she asked her husband. And who taught her? It was Shmuel Hanavi. They basically arranged that she's going to come into and ask something, and then Shmuel is going to be behind, and he will say like he wants to speak with David. It was like a whole plan how they're going to present this. Anyway, so Adinyo, right, it was Adinyo. Okay, so let's move on because we don't want to too much deviate from our plans today, and we're going to go and we're going to see from the Mashal Hagashmi, right? We want to see this physical representations of these ideas, okay? So let me ask you, before we're going to go actually into the text, have you, everybody saw how river flows? Yeah? Are you like near a river, like you had like a first-hand experience? Okay, we all know that rivers, they generate from the wellspring. Like nothing comes from nowhere. Meaning, if we see the river, we know that it's actually coming from a wellspring. Okay, and this wellspring, sometimes it's not one; it's few wellsprings. They form together a river. So what do you see? The river has 3 dimensions, right? The river has the width of the river. Yeah, the river has the length of the river. And there are all kinds of rivers. There are rivers that are wide, but short. There are rivers that are a little bit narrow, but long. Okay. And there's also the depth of the river, right? Some rivers are very shallow that you could actually walk barefoot. And there are some rivers that you need to take a boat to cross. So it really depends how deep the river is, how deep the riverbed is. So what do you think all this indicates? When you see a huge flowing river, I actually found you some beautiful videos. 1 second. Okay. Like for example, do you see my screen? Yeah. You see this river flowing? Yeah, you see the river flowing? Okay, good. It's a kind of shallow river, right? You look at it, you kind of could really cross it. Its maximum is gonna get till your belt. Could kind of cross it. So let's look at this river. Do you think you could just cross it, or they're like, no, like this is like a real thing's happening there, right? In this river. This is like a whole situation. It's quite, even for a boat, for like a little boat might be a little dangerous to go into this river because you could see the current is really, really there. Now, when I look at this river, okay, I could hardly see it's flowing. Like I don't really, you see, it's like sometimes you look at the river, it's like, is it moving? It's not moving. Well, we live in New York and you could see the Hudson River. You don't really see it's flowing. Okay, but obviously if it's a river, it flows. Now, what ends up happening is that this is a stream from the wellspring. And as you could see, it created this little pool here. This pool gets wider and wider and wider, and then starts flowing into the river. Okay, so now I'm bringing all these visuals to you. So when we're going to go into the text, it will start making sense to you. So let's go back. Any questions, please feel free to ask. And it's quite a short paragraph, and it's very, very powerful one. Okay. V'yuvan gimel b'chinas de Bina hanal mi Mashal Hagashmi. And we will understand these 3 aspects of Bina from a physical mashal, the nahar of the river. Hanimshach min maayan, the river that actually being flowed from the maayan, from the wellspring. Ki habina nikra nahar, because the Bina is called a river. Nimshach min chachma, it's being drawn down from chachma, and the chachma nikra maayan kayadua. And the chachma is called maayan as it is known. V'yesh ba'omek, the river has omek, shehu ikar hilucha mimkora. What is omek? Omek is the main flow from its source. Shehu mirutzat hamayim hanikra shturim. Because this is the flow, the running of water, which is called shturim. Okay? It's like an inner current. Shesham melubash koach tokef neviyat ha'ma'ayan. That in this inner current of the river, okay, this is where the power of the wellspring is being enclosed. Okay, so let's pause for a minute, meaning that the main flow of the maayan, right, if that usually happens in the middle of the river. Okay, this is the connecting point between the maayan and the river. Okay, that's where the river is getting its power from. This is why it has power to spread and become wide, and also to continue and become a very long river. Now, remember, one depends on the other. The stronger the maayan, the longer the river will be. How do we know from where the strong the maayan is? We're going to go back to the mashal of the maayan. From which type of aquifer are the waters being drawn? Okay, if this is from the deeper part, then the maayan is going to be much stronger, then the river is going to be much longer. You see, it's like a chain reaction. If we have a very weak maayan that's dripping, then it's not going to turn into a huge river. There's no potential for it. Okay, so from where is the indication of the maayan? Sometimes we walk into a river and we don't, it's miles and miles away it originates. So we don't know what kind of maayan it is. Well, you get into the middle of the river, you feel the flow, right? If you go boating, you'll notice that you're trying to boat and you have to pedal or, rowboat in the middle of the river much stronger and much more intensely, because there's this inner current that's pulling your boat into a different direction, into actually direction of the flow. Okay, and it was interesting. Once we went boating with my kids and we went in circles. We would boat, row, and we just go into circles because it was a very strong flow. So by the time we went like this, our boat was already moved by the flow and we had to, pedal around and then come back and then it moved again. So we it took us about 5 or 6 times to really put our acts together and actually cross the river. So this is what we're talking about. This is called shturim. Shturim is the inner current. Okay, v'harochav, and the rochav hu mashe mitrachev l'chol tzad samuch l'mekoro. Right, this is what it becomes wider, closer to the source. The orech, and the length hu mashe nimshach bebechinas richuk makom. What's the length? That that the river could actually continue to far places from its source, mimukara. Shal yideze yuchlu lehenois mimenu gam arachaikim, mimakom hanavia. That what's the purpose of the length of the river? That other people who are far away, they could also enjoy from the water, from the place, that they are far from the place where the river originates. So now he's comparing the mashal into nimshal. The same way is the explanations of the Bina, the revealed one, right? That this is the enclosed garment. Yeah, just 1 second, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Tacho bebechina zvara de Bina in English. Shu levush and yidal me'etzem askalat. Okay, lalbish etzem askala nimshal. Okay, no. Right? So the purpose of the length is that people could actually enjoy. And the same way is the Zavari of Bina, Haniglis, Bebchinas Yesh. Right? She's being revealed in the aspect of Yesh, any explanation of Bina. Shuhu levush nivdal. And this is the key word here. And the difference between Chochmah and Bina, right? So the Chochmah is the essence of the concept, and the Bina is the garment for the concept. And it's a removed garment. It's nivdal, from the essence of the Haskalah. Okay, why? Umalbish le'etzem ha'haskalah. Okay, and he's being enclosed into the essence of the Haskalah. V'nimshal le'nahar, and the mashal is the nahar hanal. Hina ha'omek sheba, here is the omek which in it, Ubechinas ha'ayin de Bina is the aspect of the ayin of the Bina. Sheba. Melubash tokef koach neviat maayan. That in that omek is enclosed the ayin of the Bina, which is what? The maayan. You see? So what do you think flowing in the middle of the river? Is the maayan. Because maayan doesn't stop flowing. The minute maayan is going to stop flowing, what's going to happen? There's no river. The river is going to flow out, and there are so many rivers are going to dry out, right? Bezrat Hashem, in the times of Mashiach, we already see a few rivers drying out, right? The Nilus will be dried out. The Euphrates River is going to dry out. And we actually see the manifestations of right now. It's being deserted. Why? Is because the power of the maayan, the makor, is being withheld. Once the makor is withheld, then there's nothing to flow. Okay, and this is maayan, the nekuda of the chachma. And therefore, we see even in the Gashmias Mashal, when you come to the middle of the river, you see a lot of movement, much more movements than you see on the shores, right? And in some places, they don't even let you swim all the way till the middle of the river for that reason, because the intensity of the flow in the middle is much more than on the sides. Okay, so what's the Rochav? Rochav hu etzem ha'asbara. The Rochav of the river is the essence of the explanation, as is. K'mo shehu b'moicha, like it is in his brain, bilti orech klal, is when you understand the concept and you keep it in your brain. Ki lo hilbisha adayin b'mashalim, because there's no mashalim yet. Vegam shenitchalka l'zvaris pratyes, rabbis, but here's the difference. There is an explanation of the concept, and then there's a mashal. The explanation, it's still in the Rochav, okay? I'm explaining, and I'm using a lot of words, and, blah, blah, blah. And even the dogma, for example, when he brings up, we see it in this person, and we see it in that person, the indication for this is still Rochav. Hakol hu be'etzem azvara. This is all the essence of the explanation. Bilti levush, without any garment, nivdal. Levush nivdal, this is the key word. Rak she nitrachev, but it's only the wide explanation. V'ha'orech, and the orech hu koach ha'yirida. And the orech is the power to bring it down, shel hazvara, of the explanation, berichuk makom, to far places, mimokoira, from its source. Shuhu b'mashalim shainim, which is all kinds of different mashalim. Ad she nitkabel lahasagas hatinok chulu v'dal, until a small child is able to understand it. And he says v'dal. V'dal means is with a dai lemavin, right? So we should really understand from this this analogy of the river. The river is flowing, and sometimes we can look at it, we don't really feel the flow, right? But that doesn't mean there's no flow. Okay, and sometimes you look at the river, for example, Niagara Falls River, it's a very, very active river, and you feel, the flow is there. But nevertheless, the middle of the river, that's where we feel the shturim. This is what allows the intensity. And let me ask you, what's the shturim? Shturim is the maayan. You feel the wellspring in it. This is what the wellspring is about, to give power to the river to flow. And there is actually a beautiful story, and we could actually see that story as a mashal with Alter Rebbe. Do you know the story with Alter Rebbe, how he and his brother dig a well? There was a river in his shtetl where they were living, and this river was dying, and anybody who would drink from this river would die. And the water was really rotting. The animals couldn't drink the water, and it was a big problem. And as you know, there was no, proper irrigation or anything like that. Everything was dependent on the river. That's why all the cities were around rivers. So what ended up happening is that they were coming back from a Seder, both of them, and they were having a discussion between Alter Rebbe and his brother about the situation with this river. And I believe his name was Aryeh Leib, and he said, or Yehuda Leib, I'm sorry. And he said to Alter Rebbe, like, this, I heard that there's this kind of, witchcraft that was done to this river, and that's why it's like this. The Alter Rebbe didn't answer anything, and they continued, and Alter Rebbe, parted, and he was going towards his house. They had a non-Jewish maid, and she offered Yehuda Leib a few apples. So he ate, he made a bracha, he ate an apple. And then he saw again the Alter Rebbe, and he said, "What's after bracha I need to make?" They were like little kids. The Yehuda Leib was probably around 6. And Alter Rebbe asked him, "Where did you get these apples?" He's like, "Well, Marusa gave them to me." And he's like, "Oh, no. These trees are orla. You're not allowed to eat from them." So Yehuda Leib started crying. He didn't know what to do. He says, "Can you please give me the the tikkun, what should be done?" He says, "Well, you need to toivel and make a firm decision. First, find out where you get the and Yehuda Leib was like, "Well, I'm not toiveling in that river. I need to toivel in that river that they were just having a discussion about." And Alter Rebbe thought for a few minutes and said, "You know what? I think I have a solution. We're going to dig a maayan." And okay, so they took a few shovels and they went to dig a maayan. They were digging and digging and digging. It was like this little kids. Like, how old was Alter Rebbe? Probably around 11. So we're digging, 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 digging. And actually, they were able to dig a maayan. And the maayan filled up that, pool that they dug. And then it overflowed and flew into that sick river and revived it, basically. And it's a beautiful story because we see that it's actually what happened with Yiddishkeit, with what Alter Rebbe brought spiritually into this world. And it's a beautiful analogy that actually physically took place. It's yeah, it's what do we mean? You open another maayan when you see a rotting river, meaning it disconnected. Something happened to maayan. That's what ended up happening. That's it. Maayan is no longer available. Well, the river is not going to disappear overnight because it's a great amount of water that's out there. So it's just not gonna. It's gonna be very shallow, and all kinds of diseases are gonna be there because there's no a living water constantly replenishing the river. So the minute he was able to dig out a new maayan, what ended up happening? The river survived. That's it. The river continued flowing. So what technically happened? The new water started pouring into the water, pushing away all the dirty water. And eventually, there's a whole system of how the rivers keep clean water. Right? There's no filtering system, but there is a whole system of chemicals, certain chemicals being released and nitrates and all that stuff. The reason why I know this, I had fishes, and it was like I was like, forget about it. It's not a simple thing to keep to keep a fish tank. It's so yeah. Okay. So any questions?
A question, yeah, but I don't know if you want to go into it. Like in the story that they dug a new maayan because they saw that the river dried out, how could it apply to our lives? Digging a
It's an excellent question. What does this mean? The river lost touch with maayan. What do you think practically this means? We lose chayus. That's what it is, right? In ourselves, there are some things we feel dragging, like, I can't do this anymore. We lose energy. Once there's an area that we lose energy, it's an indication that something happened with our connection with our maayan. That means we need to go deeper into this.
So
Once we go
not a new
deeper into
maayan. It's not a new maayan. It's not a new one. It's the same maayan that we go deeper in.
not necessarily, maybe a new one will come out. We have no idea. But we understand that whatever that is, we need to go deeper into it. Because the water is not going to come from nowhere, right? Remember, we learned that how we open a maayan through intense yigia. We need to make a yigia in our brain to bring out a new maayan. Yes, someone may call it a depression. For sure, depression is there's no flow. It's a segmented. We even use the word "I have no flow," right? We see that. We use the word. There's a new thing coming out. How to be in a state of a flow. What do you think they're alluding to? They're alluding to the text that we're learning right now. That they don't feel the connectivity. There is no flow from the maayan. So that's why things get very sluggish, right? It takes us forever to move from one place to the next, right? Everything takes so long, and we kind of like, because we lost touch from this shturim, this river that's flowing in the middle. That truly, probably that's what they do. I'm assuming a boat that wants quickly to come from one place to the next is not moving by the shore. He's going all the way to the middle, so the river will push his boat to where he goes, right? That's the whole idea, that we want things to go quicker. There is vitality. Once we lose that, we need to go back to our hisbonenus, because hisbonenus, soon we will see with later paragraphs, is what generates the flow of the maayan.
So Mila, it's really what you're describing is the power of the Orech of Chochmah to connect to the maayan, and then the Orech of Bina to connect the Bina to the Chochmah, which is really connecting it back to the original maayan. And
To the original tahom. So that's where we go. Tahom, there's two layers of tahom, right? We saw that, the deeper layer and then more superficial one. And then there's gidim, and then there's maayan, and then there's flow of the river that's revealed. And we all could see how the river is flowing from the depth it's originating from. So you go to Amazon River, it's like a whole, it's not drying out, it looks like it, right? It's all full force flowing. Well, that means there is such a great maayan. But you didn't see maayan, how you know? Well, I see the energy. I see what's going on there. And so that's why in homeopathy, I would want to connect, actually. They check well, that's why they talk a lot to a person. They see the energy level, because in the first step of healing, what they want is they want to restore the energy level of the person before the healing will start. Like they literally ask you a lot of questions about your energy level, like what can you do, so it's
ZC Darren is showing us that she's at the ocean.
Oh,
speaking of flowing water, look where I am while I'm listening. She's in Cape Town. It's very beautiful.
How does one understand the width, the Rochav, the shallowness of the sides of the river? It's like when we describe ourselves, what we understand. So we need to simplify things even for ourselves. When we read a very, very intense concept, we're like, okay, how does that relate to me? That question is your Rochav. How am I understanding it? When you say words, thoughts to yourself, how you describe the concept to yourself. Okay, but the minute you want to say words and you're describing it to others, that's why me and Naria felt very crucial that we go to our breakout rooms. So you're able to actually explain it to another person. So once you allow your Rochav to flow, what happens simultaneously? You will connect to your Omek. Because remember, the light of Hashem travels to two directions at the same time. Okay. For me, the breakthrough of my understanding of Shara Yichud was when my friend, who is not Jewish, she asked me to learn Shara Yichud with her. But because I was so desperate for Chavrusa, I was like, I took the offer. I was like, okay. But I said, but you're not quitting. Not quitting. Like, it's going to be very hard. So you're not quitting. She's like, okay, no problem. And I had to do a lot of work to explain to somebody who's not even Jewish this thing. And we went till the chapter 37 with her in Shara Yichud. It took us about 2-3 years. And she also speaks in Russian, so I need to translate it into Russian and explain the ideas. It's actually improved my Russian tremendously because half of it I forgot as I moved to United States when I was only 16. So I walked around with a dictionary trying to translate certain words for her. And but that's what it is, because I needed to explain it to somebody. It caused me to go deeper into the concept automatically. So that's why breakout rooms are very, very essential. Try to explain it. You know what? Open up your own class. Maybe have buddies, have sessions. And the more you talk about it, there's something very powerful. I believe Ayin Beis talks about it, the Maimer. There's something powerful about Koach HaDibur, power of speech. Right? So thoughts is one level, the speech is totally another level. It's bringing things down in a more tangible way and outside of us, because our thoughts are still within us. The speech is something that actually lives our body, and we communicate with others. That allows us to understand things on a totally different levels. And I'll say probably, the same as with Neria. A lot of insights into the concept happens to me, Dafka, when I actually teach. While I'm speaking, I'll have new understandings and things. So,
Mila, on
yeah.
that note, I've been thinking about it, and I'd like to make an offer and see if anybody's interested. But I thought that I'd like to open a small group. So I'm looking for 3 people who are on the same timeline as I am, which is either Israel or South Africa, to do to review what we've learned, and to do Higia, to put in some effort once a week for an hour. But the only thing is that we would be working with the Hebrew text. So anybody who's interested would have to be able to have access to the Hebrew text, because that's where we'll be doing. Obviously, we work with the English as well, but the primary source will be the Hebrew, because it's very precise. So if anybody is interested and would like to learn the process or go through the process of Hitbonenut, according to the way that I understand it, because it's really just the way that, I later saw that that's what the previous Rebbe suggested. There's this process that we go through, but to do Hitbonenut together, starting from the beginning and starting to really go into the depth of it, because the deeper you go with the Igia, just putting in the effort of learning it and learning it again and again, that's when you begin to open up your omek, and to really connect to a new wellspring. So if anybody's interested, contact me through the WhatsApp group, and we'll see what we can do. So don't contact me here, but contact me literally through WhatsApp, because you can see my number on WhatsApp. Okay, I think that we should go to the breakout rooms. And
You wanted to do the summary? No? Or we'll do
no,
the breakout?
I think that it was, you want to do this, should I do the summary? Do you need the summary?
Whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's go. Okay. So this is just the literal summary of the analogy of the river that's drawn from a spring. Nahar nimshach min hamayan. So Bina is a river and Chochmah is the spring. So the mashal is that the depth, the oimek of the river is the main flow of water from its source, known as the undercurrent or the inner current. Now, manifest within this inner current is the strength of the flow of the spring. That's the Orech. The Rochav, the breadth of the river, is the way it spreads out to the sides in proximity to or adjacent to its source. So it's in relation to its source, it's going wide. Then the Orech, the length, is what is drawn to a place that is far from its source and can bring benefit to those who are far from the original source or from the flow. So that's the river, the three aspects of the river. How does that manifest in the Nimshal? How does it manifest in relation to Bina and Chochmah? So the revealed explanations of Bina are like a garment that is separate from the essence of the concept, and it encloses the essence of the concept, similar to the analogy of a river. How is this so? So the Orech is the maayan of Bina that encloses the strength of the flow of the maayan, of the spring, which is the point, the nakuda of Chochmah. So it has a lot of vitality and enthusiasm, chayut. So that's the Orech. Just to say it again, the Orech is the maayan of Bina that encloses the strength of the flow of the spring, and what is the spring? It is the nakuda of Chochmah. It's the point of Chochmah. And it has a lot of vitality. The Rochav is the explanation as it is in the person's mind, without length, without Orech. So in other words, no mashalim. So although it has divided into many details and explanations, they are part of the explanation without manifesting in separate garments. But it has expanded or broadened in the person's mind into details and explanations. Now, this is different from the Orech. The Orech is the length. The Orech is the power to draw down, hayirida, to draw down explanations to a place far from its source in the form of different analogies or mashalim, analogies or mashalim, to the point that it can be received by the comprehension of a small child. Okay, so that's the mashal and the nimshal. Hopefully it's, what is helpful about the mashal is that if you close your eyes and think about it and try and connect the two ideas, the river, the three parts of the river with the three parts of the Bina brain, things will begin to have more chayas in it. It'll be more interesting to you. All right.
Okay, beautiful. So the goal, thank you, Naria. So the goal of the breakout rooms is actually teaching whatever we discussed to your partners. Everybody could take, few minutes and just go over the concepts. And maybe while you're discussing it, you might have a few questions, clarifications, figuring out.
I'm sorry, can we have the text in front of us when we have the breakout rooms? Is there a way, or just access it from Google Drive?
Yeah, that would be the best. I don't think there's a way on our end to, maybe, Naria? I don't think so.
No, we tried to. We can't do that.
So
Not
just,
that we know of.
just Google Drive. And where would they find Google Drive? Where would they find it?
There's a link from the WhatsApp group to the Google Drive.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, so breakout rooms are open. Please join. Oh, I included you, I think.
Yeah, you included me. Oh, let
Okay,
me.
so I'm just gonna add her too. Okay, good. Closing.
All right. Oh, everyone's here. Okay, so we want to hear from you now. What did you come up with? What questions did you have? What insights?
Yeah, I don't know who wants to speak, but I just have to say that every breakout room is like walking into a dark room and discovering that you just walked into a treasure room. It's just absolutely magnificent what people have to offer and what they bring into your world. Really incredible. Everyone.
I second that. Yes, yes, yes.
And I know that, but Okalea, incredible, was going to give up because it said 1 minute left. I said, no, we still have 1 minute left. And she just unloaded such a beautiful bomb. Beautiful. You can share your point. I'm not going to share that with my joy movement.
So Alkalea, please share with us.
So I'm just going to introduce what she's going to say because I was asked each one. Alkalea was silent for most of the time. And then I was asking the one first we spoke with, Yoni, did you review during the week? And okay, she answered that she did. And then I asked Alkalea, did you review during the week when she joined? And she says, no, because she was under the weather. So I said, under the weather is like leading to the opening of, maybe I didn't say it that way, but in maayan, like it's going to go over the weather, so it's going through you. So she told I had to Alkalea. So what did you share then?
You're
Please
muted.
unmute.
You're muted, Alkalea.
I went to look for it. Wait, where did I write it? Oh, maybe I wrote it right here. 1 second. Yes, I did. I wrote it here. No, so I said that I had some health issues this week. And it in my inbox, in my WhatsApp, I get letters from the Rebbe. And it was one the Rebbe was saying to someone who wrote about his health. And the Rebbe said, it is reasonable to express the joy of your eventual healing. The joy itself will be a catalyst to hasten your healing. Think good and it will be good. Most assuredly, this will be effective when you transfer these positive thoughts into joyous words and deeds. So it's not your topic that you're of this class, but we got led into that. I hope somebody will benefit from it.
Okay. Well, just to make a connection to what we're talking about, health is like tapping back into the maayan, like opening up the energy to go back to, a fresh source.
That every time you're under, you have to kind of dig, clap, how do you say, shovel, dig, and bring yourself back to where the maayan was sick. I mean, the river was sick, and the maayan was the restoration of health.
Yeah.
I just want to mention the word. If you look at the text, the Rebbe writes "shtrom," not "shturim." Shturim is a storm, and interesting that he inserts a yud there because that would mean maybe the original correct, accurate word would be "shtroim," which I never heard it that way. Just like we always say, like let's say Shabbat Sunach, like you kind of in speech maybe use it differently. But my parents, when they used the word "shtrom." So I always imagine it to be Reish Aleph Mem in the Yiddish, like a kometz. But shtrom, like if you
right.
So that word is like, it's the current. In Hebrew, the word would be zerem.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, that's what.
But wouldn't that will require Aleph there? even if it's Shtroim, it'll be Aleph Yud, no?
So, but look at the word. Does it have a cluster of Shin Tes Resh together?
Yeah,
Because if
let's
it
look
was
at it.
Shturim, then it would have the Vav after the Tes. And then it would be Shin Tes Vav, Resh, Ayin, Mem, Shturim.
Right,
But I
it seems to be
think
like a hybrid word between the Hebrew and Yiddish spelling.
So really, like just my name Stolik in Hebrew, instead of writing it Sin Samach Tes Aleph like we do in America, my husband's family writes it Sin Samach Tes Vov, the Shtrom, like Stolik, like Shtrom, like that way. So I don't know, maybe it's a hybrid. There weren't so much medactic on the Yiddish spelling. I see in the Maimorim, the way we learned it nowadays, we have very specific rules. So I know it's many times aberrations in the spelling from how we use it today. But anyway, that's just a point about the Yiddish word.
I see that Esther Bernstein. Esther, you
Can I-
want to speak?
I cannot talk. Okay, so I want to share something that we were talking. I want to share to see if you agree that when about the story of the Alter Rebbe and the brother, that when they come back and they try to open another fountain, no? Try to find another fountain. I don't know how you say in English, but and I was talking to Sarah, no, yeah, Sarah. And she was mentioning that maybe we have to go back to the text, yeah. But sometimes also I feel like we have to go back to the text, but also inside ourselves, no? And this text can be another text, because the fountain is distributing all these books, So sometimes I found in another book. Sometimes I found praying, like I'm learning now about prayer. Wow, praying to Hashem to find this fountain to flow inside of me. But it's spread in this knowledge that we have in all these books. It's true what I'm saying. I'm asking a question.
It's interesting because Mila and I, and there was one woman who stayed with us, and we were talking about this very thing, that sometimes you'll have a question that arises in this text, and then if you hold the question, you'll find the answer somewhere else. But it comes from the process of doing Higia in one particular text, that the question arises in a way that it bothers you. If you're not doing Higia or you're not doing something in depth, it doesn't bother you that you don't have the answer to the question, or that it's not clear to you. So that's kind of the process that I think becomes exciting, but it comes from being immersed in a particular text, that everything else opens up. That's why it's called the key to Chassidut. It's like, I think last week I shared with you that I was learning a Sikh of the Rebbe where he spoke about the poverty of Das. And I had a different understanding of, I had the key to open the idea about what Das was because we're learning it in this text. So it opened up another text for me. But this is the power of Shara Yichud, is that it's a foundational text. And it's very unusual, I know for myself, to be learning a foundational text. We learn so many texts that come later. But this is, really building a foundation for us to build something else on.
Nelia, I want to bring another idea, like because I study a lot in my life, so I study, but one thing is like the intellectual, understanding and the journey of studying, and it's so wonderful. But the main point is to bring this energy, this knowledge, to be this person, to flow the possibility of who you are in the world, to be a Jewish person, the Jewish person that Hashem created you to be. So all this knowledge also is to you to find yourself inside yourself. You understand? It's not the knowledge also, because Rav Ginsburg gave a class very interesting. He mentioned that Shlomo Melech, he was a great person. He knew so much. In the end, he fell. Why? Because the knowledge that Hashem gave to him, that we can bring from the books, you cannot, the knowledge he used only for the outside. He didn't use it for himself.
I want to stop you. I think it's a big problem when, to talk about somebody like on the level of Shlomo HaMelech and try to understand it on our level. It's like talking about the avos and the imavos in relation to ourselves. I think in general, just to answer your question, what comes up for me, Milo, you can add if you like. There is definitely the Torah of Tikkun Midot, which means that we're constantly applying the Torah that we know as much as we can to our daily lives. And we're in Sfirat HaOmer right now, where we're trying to bring the light of Pesach into our hearts. The light of Pesach was only revealed to us on the level of Mochen, and now through counting the Omer with the Sefirot, every week we're trying to build a vessel in our heart and bring it down. What we're doing, I understand with Avodat HaMoichin, which is, the Torah of the Mittler Rebbe and Shara Yochud and some other texts, is we're trying to purify our understanding, because too often we're bringing down the Torah too quickly. So we're not learning anything new, and we're not purifying what we're bringing down. We're bringing it down very quickly. And down is the operative word, is that very often we're taking Torah and we're making it Gashmiot. It's a big discussion, and I'm not going to go into it. But what we're doing here is trying to stay in the level of Mochen and learn something new without drawing a conclusion too quickly, without making it Gashmiut. And in that way, slowly, what will happen, and the Mittler Rebbe describes this, is that the mind itself becomes more purified. So that which we will have to bring down will be a more purified light. And it happens through a year. It happens through this intense effort with the text itself. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody just do the work of Shari Yochud. We do that, and both Mila and I teach other classes which are completely the opposite, which are all about Tikkun Midot, and we're doing both. But this text is doing something different to us. As if you bring it into your heart too quickly, you haven't purified the water. That he describes that the deeper the giddim, the deeper the veins go down into the tohom, into the koach hamaskil, the more purified the water will be from mistakes and from dross, and the more it will have chayut, the more alive it will be. And therefore, the stronger will be the river that comes out of it. So this is, we're working a different place here. It doesn't negate any other Torahs that we're doing. It's just something slightly different, and it's a different kind of work. And once you get into the process of it, you'll begin to feel it in your mind. Rather than me using the Torah, what happens is this Torah starts to change the physicality of one's brain, actually. So that would be my answer to you.
Right. So thank you, Naria. Another thing that I would answer to you, Esther, is the mashal that's given for application. I know it's very, very tempting to see like, okay, how do I apply it in my life? Is the same way how, let's say, somebody will tell you, okay, in order for you to feel, you know, the whatever it is, like, you know, you need to do certain exercises. You need to be fit. And a person could come and say, like, how is that going to be an application for my life? Well, because it will change the very matter of how your body works, it will apply automatically to every single level of your life. You know, people who do a lot of, you know, workouts, they are more, they're less lazy, they wake up, you know, quite early, and they do all kinds of things, right? They pick up heavy objects very easily. They're much eager, you know, to cross different, you know, things, and you know, they could do so many things. It's endless possibilities of how they apply the sport life into their daily lives. And the same thing is with avodah samoichin. Avodah samoichin is the work of our mind, and for specifically I use the word mind versus intellect, because it's not only intellect, it's the mind. And when we refined our mind is number one and the most important part of our whole entire body. That's how we process any information, literally any information. Our consciousness is based on the neuron connections of our brain. So when we invest in this work, there will be absolutely no area in your life that this will not manifest. And we don't have to work, the Rebbe says. And that sikha of Avodah Samoichin that we learned in our introductory class, the Rebbe says it happens derech mimele, automatically. And sometimes we feel like, what's mimele means? What does automatically means? On Shabbos, I came across a very interesting story that I read in 770, where one person asked the Rebbe, what's the difference between Musar and Chassidus? It's a straightforward question. And Rebbe said, I'll answer you with an analogy. He says, imagine you are sitting in, imagine a person is wearing a very heavy coat. And all of a sudden, a wind blows, tries to, you know, like a very strong wind, tries to take off the coat. The person automatically will hold on to the coat and says, that's how Musar works, the Rebbe says. But how Chassidus works, Chassidus is a sunshine. Okay? When there is a very strong sun shining, a person automatically would want to take off his coat. There's no avoida when it's hot outside that you want to take off your coat. No, when it's freezing outside, to take off your coat with a strong wind, it's like you hold on to it because it's freezing. Right? So Chassidus in its essence is avodah samoichin. We're creating an environment within ourselves that all our negative emotions, whatever the story is we might be struggling with, will automatically shed. Like the heavy coat, it's going to be so hot within our consciousness. And what is that heat is from? It's from our awareness of God. And the first domain, how we're bringing this infinite light of Hashem's creation every single moment of this world, is through our process of hisbonenus. Because things are happening around us that we're completely oblivious. Because we look at the world through the structure of our own being. So how can we digest everything what Chassidus has to offer is through changing our perception. And the perception is changed through hisbonenus. Because we already created a perception through our life experiences. This is our neurons. This is our, you know, connections in our brain. So the only way how we can give up certain connections and strengthen other connections and implement new connections is through doing hisbonenus, is the work of the mind. And when we will create the right map in our brain for the godly light to manifest, we will see Geula, because the Rebbe said, on whole 2 years, Tafshin Nun Aleph, Tafshin Nun Beis Sichos, the Rebbe keeps saying that everything is ready. Everything is right here. To the point that I believe one Shabbos, he said, okay, we're washing hands here, and we could continue eating the Su'udah. And Shorabar is already here, the Yain Meshumer is here, and all the Rebbeim are here, and we're just continuing in the Su'udah. And these are the actual Rebbe's words. Rebbe wasn't delusional. Rebbe was describing us a true reality that's happening right now for the past 30 years. And we are like, what, where, Geula? Well, just October 7th happened, this happened, that happened, because we're not getting it. Why aren't we getting it? Because our mind, and the Rebbe says, in Koach Nisan Sicha, what are we missing? Golus Pnimi, Ba'avodas Hashem. We are in our inner golus, not because there's a golus outside of us. Because we are in our inner golus, we cannot enjoy all the things that the Rebbe already did for us. Right? That's why the Rebbe said everything what was done up until the point is lehevel v'lerich. And all the Chassidim got depressed. Well, imagine the Rebbe built a beautiful house for us. And we still live in shelter. Why? Because we cannot see, for whatever reason, the beautiful building that, that was already created for us and prepared for us. And we're like, oh, where's the building? Which building? And we cannot, because our consciousness is not ready to process it, we cannot enjoy it. So Rebbe says it's for nothing, because if a person is not enjoying his wealth, and instead of living in his palace, he goes and lives in shelter, it's lahavel v'larik. It's for nothing. It's like, it's like, forget about it. Right? And this is where the key understanding is that we need to do our part of bringing godliness into our little domain. And when we do that, in our perception will change, and we will see what's a true reality. What is the true reality of Atzmos Mahus, literally in front of our face? And this is a few days ago that in Hayom Yom, I'm not sure which days, I think it was Koach Nisan, I'm not sure which, I think it was a few days before, where the Rebbe says that the whole goal of Chassidus is to bring a person into such awareness of him standing right in front of the essence of God. So when we're looking through that, so yeah, the work and the work of the mind becomes such a personal experience for us. Because it's not about others, about Shlomo Melech or whoever that is. It's not really our place to mention anything about these people, because we need to worry about where's my geula, where's my pikudei, is my count of doing of bringing that domain, and in that pursuit of bringing more godly awareness into our own brain, we will inquire a challenge. And the challenge is, how do I let go of my known to the unknown? And that's our Mesiras Nefesh for Chassidus, right? That's trusting the process, that it's good, and we're going to from good to better.
Okay, Mila, on that note, I think that at 7 o'clock, I think that we should shut down unless somebody has an urgent question in relation to what Mila was speaking about. Sylvia, you're looking very thoughtful.
I'm thinking about that no. And is that no to the challenges that Hashem is sending us, that we don't necessarily have a grasp on Hashem's light that's deep inside that challenge to expose and redeem ourselves with. That's my thought. I'm stuck in a challenge, and I'm struggling to see the Chassidus in it, the depth in it, and my way forward in it. And I'm sure it has to do with Hod Sheba Tiferes today.
The one thing that I've learned about Tiferes is people always think that it's, it's beauty and harmony, and it's wonderful. There's an enormous struggle in Tiferet, because it's actually about holding opposites. and integrating opposites, and it's the right side and the left side are entities. The middle line is a new creation. And somebody, we know that Chesed is water and Gevurah is fire. And somebody says, it says, look up to heaven. Shamayim is Eishen Mayim. It's the one place that holds the opposites. And the only way to find a solution for the dilemma, to bring it into Tiferet, is to go to the source, is to bring from a higher place, because we can't, the continuum from, one extreme, the Gevurah to the Chesed, it's not like it's the middle line. It has to be a new creation. And it's a big challenge. So I hear your challenge. I've been thinking about it a lot this week.
It speaks strongly to me. Thank you, Nuria. It really speaks strongly to me. Yeah, it needs to be a higher solution, and looking to the Eibishter for that, because it's a paradox that only godliness can resolve.
Right.
Yeah. As I think there's a saying that the midas, nimtikim b'shorshan, right? They are sweetened in the source. Later on in Shariachot, we're going to learn about Machane Gavriel and Machane Michael, right? These are the two opposites, angels, and the bittul comes when Hashem reveals himself. Right? They stop arguing, right? When the king walks in, two ministers stop arguing, right? So the answer is the higher revelation of God. Then everything else just quiets down. That's it. It's Malchus walking in. And B'ezrat Hashem, next week we're going to focus on Das, which is a very, very yummy piece of Shari Yechud. Right? The Das is the middle line. So we are in that space of trying to understand Chachma, trying to understand Bina. This is the right and left side, and the Das is the point of emes, balancing between the two. And it's the middle line. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so much. It's been beautiful.
Thank you very much.